crickets. There we go. Good evening, everyone. We're going to give ourselves a few minutes for our Zoom room to catch up with all of you. So welcome. Going to give it one more minute and we'll get going. I don't want to stand between you and your evening activities. Adam, what say you? Do you think we're good?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm going to take a bet that most of you are on the East Coast or perhaps in the Midwest. And for those of you who might be on the West Coast, well, I hope you're having a great afternoon. Welcome to the American University GAP program discussion. My name is Jill Klein, and I serve as the Dean of the School of Professional and Extended Studies. That's a mouthful, but it is one that sets the stage for a variety of lifelong learning that is the cornerstone of higher education here at American University. Our tradition is to meet the student where they are. And at a time like this, there has never been a clearer call than right now to meet the student where they are. So thank you for taking time out of your day. I know that each and every one of us has been touched by the pandemic, and our thoughts are with those of you who have had personal and family experience with the virus. Perhaps have brought sorrow and certainly have brought disruption into your life. As college counseling professionals, and maybe some other folks who are very interested in launching high school students to university life, this is an especially challenging time. All the pomp and circumstance, the rituals that punctuate a high school career have all been shattered. But the students' aspirations to take that next step remain as committed as they were before all of this happened. So perhaps you already have got a queue of students who had anticipated taking a gap year, perhaps something a bit more exotic, international travel, extensive community service, perhaps not possible for this coming fall. Or perhaps you have a student that you've been working with who earned a spot at the college of their dreams, and that college is far away from home, and now that student is contemplating delaying the start at that university. So whatever is motivating you and your students, we know it is evolving. And here at American University, we appreciate that shifting landscape because we are right in the middle of it with you. Today, we're going to take a little time and introduce you to American University and specifically to our GAP program, which is designed for students who are not bound for American University, but who as part of a GAP experience seek early experience in a professional environment coupled with some connectivity to an academic community. American University is all about change making. We are a community, a university community that is centered on social justice. So it is no wonder that students from across the country and around the world traditionally join us for a semester or two to blend in a meaningful internship under the guidance of a professor, coupled with their academic seminars. This allows a student to deepen their intellectual exposure to new ideas while also learning to navigate that professional space. Students who take a GAP program, study abroad, perhaps engage in deep, intentional experiences. And then we all know, especially as professional counselors and educators, that when they do begin their college experience, they have greater focus and ultimately success. The American University GAP program is designed with this in mind. In fact, most colleges and universities do not permit a first-year underclass student to enroll in a meaningful multi-day internship. So this is an opportunity for our students to get themselves set up for future summer employment, future internships, and ultimately their first full-time job. That's the role of the American University GAP program. Across the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to share with you where we are, and I would encourage you, as you hear our presentation, if you've got questions, go ahead, pop them in the Q&A, and I promise that we have plenty of time at the end to address the questions. But just like you are talking to other people at other schools, we have quickly done the pivot of transitioning our spring term to online learning. And in fact, last weekend, we celebrated our commencement. So different, but yet so meaningful. And now we have put our energy to focusing on the fall, renewal and return to American. This is our program that ensures that students, faculty, and staff remain healthy and safe. We will continue to refine and make operations decisions based on prudence, not panic. And as you learn about our GAP program, please know that we will meet our students where they are, whether they stay home, whether it is virtual or hybrid. So central to everything we do here is DC is our classroom. And we will continue to engage students in a city that is our home and is a beacon to people from across the country and around the world. Today, I am joined by my colleagues, Adam Anthony, the Assistant Dean for our Washington Semester Programs, Terrell Austin, our Business Relationship Partner for the Washington Semester Programs, and our Enrollment Specialist, Marissa Whitaker. We are also very fortunate to be joined by a now former, as of last week, GAP student, Alex Lehman. So you'll get the whole range of our experience. So remember, questions in the Q&A box. We've got the time to answer the questions. And now let me turn the floor over to Terrell. Thank you, Terrell.
Thanks, Jill, and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Before I go into the details of the AU GAP program, let me tell you a little bit about why we are uniquely positioned to provide students with this experience. The GAP program is only 5 years old, but it is modeled on a 70-year-old program that at AU called the Washington Semester Program, which is an exchange for juniors in college who come for one semester to American University in order to have a professional experience and an internship and take classes at our university. So when we developed the GAP program, it was with this in mind that perhaps students who wanted to do something different before starting college might benefit from coming and sort of trying out a profession from the safety of our campus before they start college. We also have experience working with spring admits to American and to other schools who come in the fall to do our mentorship program. So we are accustomed to dealing with the needs of college students at the very beginning of their college career. Finally, we are accredited and have been since the beginning by the Gap Year Association, which requires a very rigorous process for accreditation. And we proudly showed the badge here of our accreditation. All right. So what is AU GAP? This is a program that integrates a 3-day-a-week internship and an academic experience, guided by an American University faculty member. And this participation of a faculty member in the internship experience is really key to the program. Other students can come to DC and perhaps land an internship, but it won't be the same high quality of the program that we offer. All of the organizations in our internship database know what our expectations are for internships. Providing our students with an educational, high-quality experience integral to the organization. So what that means is that our students aren't just going to be making coffee or running errands in their internship. There may be a little bit of that because that's what people need interns for, but also the supervisors at these organizations have made a commitment to provide our students with a high quality experience. And that's something that you just can't get elsewhere. The students earn 7 pre-matriculation credits in the program, 4 from doing the internship 3 days a week, and 3 from the seminar class that they take with us. And those credits can be transferred into the university where the student matriculates after the gap year, according to the policies of that welcoming university. Okay, let me talk a bit about the program benefits. Let's see. The internship is something that students go to 3 days a week. As I mentioned before, we have a large internship database with over 3,000 organizations, governmental, corporate, nonprofit organizations. And we help students prepare to apply for these internships. We guide them through the whole process of developing an excellent resume and cover letter that they can adapt according to the organization where they are applying. We do interview practice with them before they go out, and we keep track of where they're applying. We have students apply broadly. We tell them that they need to apply for 10 internships, and we check in with them and coach them through that whole process. So once they obtain their internship, they go 3 days a week. It's 21 to 24 hours a week of internship. Most people think of politics and international affairs when they think of DC, but our database has an internship for everyone. We have internships in business, in journalism, in healthcare, in education. Here, this slide is giving you just a taste of some of the organizations where our students have interned recently. So you can see that there is something for everyone. We've even been doing sports management internships lately. It seems there's a lot of interest in students upcoming in that. So there really is something for everyone. The academic part of the program is a seminar course that students take once a week. They're in class with the professor for 3 hours, and then the professor takes them out into DC to site visits or has guest speakers in. As you can see from this slide, there's not much social distancing going on in this picture. And so the experience that for students who come in the fall may be different from this. Our experience in the spring when we had to very abruptly go to online learning and online internships was that the professors teaching the courses often said it was easier to get great speakers to Zoom in and talk to their classes simply because everyone was sitting in their basement and more available. No commuting required. So although the program will necessarily look a bit different than it has in the past as we accommodate returning to campus because of the pandemic, we are confident that we can provide a high quality academic experience with very stimulating speakers and an opportunity for students to interact with experts. As I mentioned before, we have a dedicated staff of people who are committed to student success. Faculty, professional staff, we have a director of experiential learning who has worked with our internship database for 24 years, knows the supervisors personally, and is able to interact with students, hear about what their interests are, and point them in the right direction as far as applying places where she thinks they will fit best. So we are committed to helping your students obtain an internship that will be really meaningful and a good fit for them. Okay. This is a picture of our beautiful campus at American. As you can see, my virtual backdrop is the School of International Studies, which happens to be my favorite building. But it's a gorgeous campus, and students have access to all of the services that that other AU students have. Of course, right now we're still figuring out exactly what that return to campus will look like. Decisions are being made as we speak, and we are going to be posting a lot of information about the return to campus on our website. As far as internships, whatever the hybrid program of partially on campus, partially online looks like, we are working with internship supervisors so that they can design the kind of experience for students that they're comfortable with. So that will probably be worked out on a case-by-case basis with the internship site. Our application process is really easy. It's an online application. Students have to complete a couple of 500-word essays explaining why they're taking a gap year and why in particular they want to come to Washington, D.C. and do our program. They upload an official transcript right to the site and then can request letters of recommendation from their guidance counselors who can directly upload those to the site. So it's a very simple and efficient process. In terms of costs, the tuition and fees for the program are listed here. This does not include room and board. We're not exactly sure what room and board will look like in the fall, and so we just have tuition here. Their program is eligible for use of 529 funds and outside scholarships. We have had students with Rotary scholarships who were able to use those to do our GAP program. Okay, at this point, I'm really happy to introduce our alum. She's barely an alum. She just finished our program last week. Her name is Alex Lehman, and she's here from New York City.
Hi, everyone. As Terrell mentioned, my name is Alex, and I recently completed the GAP program. It was an extraordinary experience. I had the opportunity to intern at the United Nations Foundation, where I worked on the Universal Access Project, which was particularly rewarding during this time where global health infrastructure is under scrutiny and is being tested, and to be able to be in the room where decisions were being made and to get to contribute to something greater than myself in this moment was really deeply rewarding. And the seminar class I was able to take during this program, International Affairs, actually influenced what I hope to concentrate in my studies next fall at Brown University, where I intend to major in international and public affairs. And hopefully I can answer your questions today, and I couldn't recommend this program more strongly.
All right, maybe now we'll open it up for questions, and Marissa Whitaker is going to be our moderator for the Q&A.
Thanks, Terrell. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening. We have a couple questions so far. So this first one, I'm sure, is on everyone's mind. Jill, perhaps you can talk a bit more about this. The question is, do you have a vision for the program if there's no ability, to be on campus in the fall?
So this is a great question, and it is absolutely, it is what is causing your students, your advisees to say, what do I do in the fall? And the answer is we do have a vision. As I mentioned in the beginning, our plan is to meet our students where they are. And so we are fully preparing to be able to both have students who are here in DC, and depending on how the region chooses to reopen, we will take all of our guidance directly from the way the District of Columbia will operate. In fact, I was just on a call right before this. One of the co-chairs of the mayor's task force is actually a former American University executive in residence, is also very close to members of our university administration. So we are talking to them every day. But the real vision is that because of our our ability to see the success of this past semester, and Alex is certainly just one example. We had over 80 students across our programs this semester who transitioned from being in DC, working in DC, to being at home and continuing to work in their internships in a meaningful way. So we are designing the program so that we will be able to work with students who are here, as well as students who may live away, but who really want to understand how DC works. You know, if you think about it, between the pandemic, the upcoming elections, there is a lot that is going on here, and our ability to get students access into internships that will give them a glimpse of how things really get done can continue to happen even if a student is remote. We also know and have our faculty working to prepare the seminars so that we are prepared to either be residentially based or have students move or study from their homes. So building in this level of flexibility, we believe, is critical to your students being able to make informed decisions and for us to really plan accordingly. Let me just say that trying to flip everything over spring break, it was challenging, but I was just marveling at my colleagues' ability to flip their classrooms, at the resiliency of our students. I just can't tell you how reassuring it is to watch students embrace it and say, this is a moment. I'm going to be talking to my children and my grandchildren, maybe my great-grandchildren, about how I got through this. And all of that has given us really very good confidence that we will be able to work with our faculty, with our internship supervisors, and of course with our students to give them a really meaningful experience. There are questions that are related about what's going to happen with housing. And right now, the guidance we're getting from the university is if it is available. And so as you take interest in the program, if you know, we hope that you will encourage the people you're advising who are thinking about a gap year to come look at this. As we go through the interview process, we will try to understand what students' needs are as it relates to housing, because the university has not made any final decisions or recommendations in that area. So I hope that's responsive. Marissa, back to you.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, so we have the next two questions are somewhat related. One is this open to international students? You offer scholarships for both domestic and international students. And question similar to that, do you offer any financial aid options?
I can speak to the part of international students. Because this is a part-time academic program, we are unable to sponsor a visa for an international student. It's only 7 hours of credit. We have had international students who have done the program who are here on a parent visa because a parent is a diplomat or something. And we welcome those students. We love having that kind of diversity in our class, but we are unable to actually sponsor the visa for international students.
And in terms of financial aid, there is no institutional aid for GAP students. However, as Terrell indicated during her presentation, you are free to bring any scholarship, any outside scholarship to the program, 529 or Rotary or other grants that you were able to obtain to the program to pay for the cost of it.
Let's see, we have two questions. Terrell, I think you can help us answer this one about credits being able to transfer. One says, do most schools have restrictions on being able to take credits from this gap year? Another, how have you dealt with universities that have not allowed credits to transfer in the past? If the university won't allow the gap year students to bring those courses for credit.
Okay. Schools are really all over the map in terms of what their policies are on credit that you can earn during a gap year. Some schools allow up to 20 hours of credit to come in, and others say absolutely no credit can be earned during a gap year. So as you're advising your students, it's really important to ask the question of your school and check and see what the policy is there. That said, some schools will not prohibit you from earning credit, they just won't transfer it in for you. And that is something that our students, most of our students who come are less interested in earning the credit than they are in having the experience. We do a survey at the end of every semester, and one of the questions we ask is, why did you do this program? And inevitably, students say, because I wanted the internship experience, because I wanted, to try out academics or have a lighter load while getting some professional experience. And earning credit is always the last choice. So it's important to ask the question to make sure that you're not in violation of your college's policy, bringing credit or earning pre-matriculation credit when you come in. And then for schools that do allow credit, they usually will contact us and ask for a syllabus and then make that decision after they have a look at what you've done for this semester.
Thank you, Terrell. Jill or Adam, is there a community service portion to the GAP program? Can you speak on that at all?
Jill, why don't you take that one?
Thanks. Oh, well, thank you for that. Well, that is a great question. I mentioned in the very beginning that, and for those of you who know anything about American University, you know that we are socially active and community driven. And so one of the things that we do as a wrap in here is that we do encourage students to get engaged in community service. Clearly, if we're physically in DC, that becomes an easier option because we can do them as a group. And so it not only builds our GAP community, but it allows us to give back in a meaningful way to our greater DC community. But certainly we believe that community service is one way to help build your community. And so it is our intention that we will come up with things that we will do as a group. In fact, as we were sort of going into June back in January, and we were talking about activities, we said, all right, in June, we're going to line up some really awesome community service that everybody, will pick one or two things to get involved in, because I think it is a really important element of just being a good citizen and learning to embrace a community. And DC is a remarkably diverse community. Some of you, you bring your students down for their 8th grade trip and they see the mall, which is not a shopping mall, and they go to our amazing museums and they see the institutions. But there's a lot more to our community and a lot more texture and nuance. So we think community service is important.
Thank you, Jill. Let's see. Carol, perhaps you can speak on this one. Somebody asked what the experience has been like for international students who have been in the GAP program. And a follow-up question, which perhaps Jill or Adam can address, if the online format is still in place for the fall, would you accept international students if they did not need visas?
Okay, we've had a great experience with international students. As I said, because of State Department rules, our program is not eligible to sponsor. So we're always really excited when someone has another way to come join us because they're on a parent visa. So the experience has been wonderful. It enhances the entire group experience to have people from different cultures and backgrounds. As far as the online format in the fall, I'm not sure about if we were doing a completely online format with an international student, if there would be a visa requirement. Do either of you all know that?
It is a really
so it's a very nuanced question. And for those of you who do work with students who do not have US passports, a lot of this, we've got to wait for guidance from the US Department of Education and the US Department of Homeland Security. This is actually something that we're monitoring for our degree-seeking students as well. Many of our international students have gone home, and the question is, will they be permitted to register from their home countries? So it actually requires some guidance outside of the university's decision. So for those of you who are trying to plan right now, today, what you're going to do, I would probably be hesitant to say that we can guarantee you an online program for if you are international.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the State Department had to issue a waiver for international students to be able to complete their studies when they left the United States and went back to their home countries. And it is an open question whether that waiver will be reissued for the fall. Lots of people are hoping and praying it will, but it is still an open question.
Yeah. Carol, can you talk a little bit more about the admissions for the program, the type of student we're looking for, how many students we anticipate having this upcoming semester, acceptance rates, anything along those lines?
Sure. The minimum requirement to be considered for the program is a 3.0 high school GPA. Of course, we also look at those letters of recommendation and the essays. The objective for us is to accept students in the program who are going to be successful in the program. This is a unique gap experience, and it's one that really appeals to highly motivated students. If you're advising a student who isn't going to college, perhaps because they need some time to mature, since we place students in a professional environment, and they have to be able to get themselves up and on the metro and to their internship early in the morning, a high level of motivation and responsibility is a requirement. So we try to ascertain that when we are looking at student applicants. If the student meets, I don't know exactly what our acceptance rate is in percentages, but if a student meets that 3.0 GPA, our acceptance rate is very high. I would say 80% probably. Let's see, what else was there, Marissa?
Do we have any expectations about the size for our class this fall?
Well, because the world turned upside down, we really don't know what to expect right now. I'm sure you've all read that lots of students who weren't considering a gap year before are considering one now. And so we're working very hard to be flexible and putting the pieces in place to be able to accommodate more students than we usually have. So that is something that we're anticipating. And I think that a lot of people will be making these decisions as their colleges make their decisions. So everybody's just sort of waiting on that. But we can accommodate, 50 or 60 students this semester, which is more than usual in our fall semester.
And I think to underscore just what Terrell said, the right student, and you all who are consultants and counselors know that the right student has a wonderful time, and a student who is looking to find themselves in a semester struggles in this format, and that doesn't work for anybody. It is a tricky semester to balance the academics and the career focused training, and so it is, you all are the professionals on this, and you know your students and you know your clients, and so that is a very important part of it.
I think this next question would be a perfect one for Alex to take on. Somebody asked if more details about a daily or weekly schedule for both the online and live format. Since Alex was in a very unique position of experiencing both formats, Alex, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about what the day in the life looked like, what the week in the life looked like while you were on campus, and also while you were at home working virtually?
Definitely. So I think one thing that was really great about this program is the balance in the schedule. So whether it is in person or online, I was able to complete 3 days a week, a 9 to 5 workday. So that would sort of be a good portion of my week. And then the other 2 weekdays, I would have my classes, as Terrell mentioned. So that was either the seminar class, which would be a few hours and might include a really fascinating field visit to a think tank, to a museum, to a guest speaker, which were always very exciting. And also the mentored field practicum, which is with the professor who is helping with your internship. But that leaves a lot of open time. And what's so wonderful about DC is it's such a vibrant city with so many awesome opportunities. So I had the privilege of going to different embassies, lots of museums, exploring neighborhoods. There's so much to do. In a virtual capacity, it looks a little bit different. One thing that I found that's really wonderful is a lot of those think tanks and those institutions based in DC are live streaming. They're producing a lot of content developed for a digital audience. So there are still ways to take advantage of that. And my cohort, my peers from this program, I really enjoyed spending time with them on campus. Obviously, it's a wonderful campus with great common spaces. Throwing around the Frisbee on the quad is something that is so much fun. But even now, we actually just started a book club that we're really excited to be doing and staying in contact. So I think there are ways to foster community online, and we're really lucky that there is so much technology available to allow us to sort of better facilitate that.
Was needed there. Thank you, Alex. That was great insight. Okay, for our next question, Jill, perhaps you can answer this one. Do we ever see adult students, perhaps somebody in between their careers or before a master's degree, participating in the GAP program?
So that's a great question, because there are, as I started and said, we deal with lifelong learners, and there are all different types of transition points. The GAP program is really designed for rising first-year college students, and that is how their seminars are structured. Adam tells this wonderful story about how when he first joined the university, he could not believe how many first-year students we placed in internships. So we know that working with that community of learners requires a certain set of experience from our part. On the adult side, if they are upperclassmen, so these may be students who are juniors, seniors, or even actually just graduated students, the program we would encourage them to think about is something called our Washington Semester Program. It is a far more complex academic component along with the internship. So they're taking 2 to 3 classes in addition to the internship. And depending on the universities that they attend, some of them actually already have articulation agreements with us through our Washington Semester Program. And certainly if you have a student who's interested in that and they're upper division students, I would encourage you to reach out to us. Terrell works directly with all of our partner institutions. For students who are transitioning to graduate school, we will, on any given semester, have a couple of students who are trying to figure out what to do for graduate school, and they are able to take our Washington Semester Seminar, which is designed for an upper division student. We actually have a program that is targeted to students who are looking for law school. So we will frequently have students who are pre-law who come in there. Again, it's a specialized space. And if you do have a candidate like that, I would encourage you to ask Terrell directly if in fact it's a good fit. I will say the program is not designed for mid-career transition people. We do have a lot of other things we offer, but not through this program. And I'm happy to talk to you about things that we might do with somebody who is more mid-career and thinking about a higher education experience.
If I can just jump in here and add, we have had over the past few years students here and there who have decided for whatever reason that they want to transfer out of the school that they are attending and are in the process of looking. And this program, say sophomores, and so this program has been a great sort of productive way to bridge that gap that they're going through. And so we have had quite a few students who have come in under those circumstances. But if they're junior level or above, they really should consider the Washington semester program instead, just because of the courses they can take, and the workload would be more what they're used to.
Thank you, Jill and Cheryl. Okay, are there any last questions here? We might be done. Jill, do you want to take us away?
If not, let me bring this home. I want to thank you all for making time to learn about our GAP program. Most of you on the phone, as we mentioned, are focused in the college counseling, whether you are in schools or in private counseling spaces. Thank you for the work you do in guiding these students. I know that with my own children, having the opportunity to work with their college counselors really helped them refine the decisions that they had to make. Because, you know, when parents get in the way, sometimes that can be a challenge. And I do hope that as you look at the students you are working with who are questioning what does fall look like for them, perhaps you will determine that something like the American University GAP program is appropriate for them. We will be hosting webinars both tomorrow and Friday. We'll make sure we send that information along to you. And we certainly encourage you to either join your student or encourage your student and their families. We really appreciate that the parent is a very important part of this conversation. To learn more about us, ask us questions. I know in a quick 30 or 40 minutes, you don't get all the nuance, and you may have some special circumstances. We are really, it's a privilege to be able to be in Washington, D.C., to educate college students and graduate students in our community, and welcoming students, even if it's during a transition, is really important. And we know, based on having students call us 5, 10 years down the road and say, that internship or that seminar, it helped me think differently, and it really helped inform my college career and ultimately their first couple of jobs out of college. And with that, I wish all of you good health, and may you stay safe, and we look forward to continuing to answer your questions about American University and about our GAP program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night.